Good afternoon. This is Mike Cantrell, and I'm an oil and gas producer from Ada, Oklahoma, and currently I am the president of the Oklahoma Energy Producers Alliance. And we're a group of small oil and gas producers that really reside all over our state of Oklahoma, and we've been in existence for about a year now. And the main reason for our existence, we basically broke away from the Oklahoma Independent Petroleum Association. 7 of us have been former chairman of the Oklahoma Independent Petroleum Association. 16 of us were board members of the Oklahoma Independent Petroleum Association. And the main reason we formed the Oklahoma Energy Producers Alliance was because we'd seen a difference in culture develop that basically favored the larger out-of-state public traded companies and out-of-state funded private equity companies. And that became the mindset of who it is the industry is, and the industry is really bigger than that. It's not one big monolithic industry. The oil and gas industry in Oklahoma is made up of gas producers and oil producers and small producers, large producers, public companies, private companies. The average company, I think, has 11 employees, so we're basically a lot of small producers, 3,000 of us all around Oklahoma, most of who don't drill horizontal wells. And so we basically had 2 basic issues that caused us to leave the OIPA and start the OEPA. And those 2 issues were, number one, we felt like the culture at the OIPA had shifted to one that put more emphasis on our own benefits as an industry and less equality on what was good for our state. Now, we're all in business for a profit. You know, there's no reason to be ashamed of wanting to make a profit. And we all understand that profit motive that is still the OIPA mantra. But we think that long-term profit maximization requires us to be good citizens of our state. And we should never ask for anything from Oklahoma that's not good for Oklahoma. And I think that's what we crossed the line several years ago when we imposed a 2% gross production tax rate on new oil, and we made it permanent to where that it would never sunset. In other words, you had, in order to overturn it, it didn't get reviewed every 3 years and have to be renewed. It had to be overturned by a vote of 75% of the legislature, which is a very tough threshold to meet. So we felt like that was an overreach. Now, admittedly, all of us get the 2% tax rate, or got it. It's changed now. But all of us got that 2% tax rate on any new oil, vertical or horizontal, that we had. But we were willing to give that up. And admittedly, the larger producers gave up much more when they gave up that than we did. But we just felt like the making of it permanent was the thing that made it over the top. And we really wanted to see it restored back to the historical rate of 7%. And so last April, we started an initiative to move it back to 7%. And we were hoping the rest of the industry would see that the dire straits the state had become in had gotten themselves into, basically because the price of oil fell at the same time we had this low tax rate and just weren't collecting the tax that we had. We felt like 7% was fair. It's the lowest rate in any of the major oil producing states at 7%. So at 2%, it was just extremely low. And so we've been on a campaign to change that, and have finally become successful with the help of the legislature. We filed an initiative petition, or we worked with Restore Oklahoma Now to file an initiative petition to take the rate back to 7%. And then after that was filed, I think there was some pressure to go on and do something else rather than go all the way back to 7. I think the public would have supported going from 2 to 7. So we decided to have an initiative petition drive, and we did that, did a state question on that. And the result of that was basically that it didn't need to go to a state question because the legislature functioned as it should and passed House Bill 1010XX, which was a restoration of the GPT to 5%, which is a fair rate, and it was a good compromise. And it helped to pay teachers. In fact, 60% of the new teacher pay raise that we've instituted with HB 1010XX comes from the oil and gas gross production tax. And so we should be proud of that. And I'm hoping the other associations will now change the view of that and be in support of retaining this important piece of legislation that we believe was an emergency tax increase. And that was the first issue. The second issue we had was the issue of vertical wells versus horizontal wells. Horizontal technology is a game changer. It's a game changer for our world, and it's a game changer for Oklahoma. We're able to get to reserves we could never get to any other way with horizontal drilling and horizontal fracking. And that's a wonderful thing. The only issue became when the horizontal frac jobs, massive frac jobs that last 2 weeks continuously pumping, started to impact and destroy, in most cases, the vertical production that was already there, that was already found and discovered and been produced for many, many years, sometimes as many as 100 years. And we felt like that was not being adequately addressed. There weren't safeguards. There weren't safeguards on protection of groundwater, which is our most important natural resource in Oklahoma. We have tremendous groundwater resources in our state. So we felt like that we needed to form our own organization to be able to highlight those problems for those 3,000 small producers that are all over our state of Oklahoma that send our kids to public schools, and we care about our state because we live here and we live in every community, and almost every community in the state. So that's why we formed our organization, and now what we're wanting to do is we want to communicate with you. We've been communicating with the public through Facebook, and now we're going to start a Facebook Live presentation. We're going to try to do this on every Thursday evening at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, and we're going to take on the issues that are important to you. And we're going to try to be honest, open, unbiased, as objective as we can be. We want to talk about climate change. We want to talk about earthquakes and the impact oil and gas has on earthquakes in Oklahoma, which we do. We do have some culpability or some responsibility that comes with our industry practices in earthquakes. We want to talk about that openly and honestly and listen to all comments. And we want to talk about tax situations. We'll talk about the tax situation we've just had. State Representative Zach Taylor is on our board, and he's a small oil and gas producer from Seminole. And Zach is going to do a Facebook Live on 1010XX and why that's good for all of us, or why we think it is, and answer any questions about raising taxes in our state. Zach is an extremely conservative Republican and would not be for raising taxes any other time, nor would he be for this one, except that it was an emergency. So I'll let Zach speak for himself when he does the Facebook Live, but I just wanted to basically give you an introduction on who we are, what we're about or what we're trying to be about, and ask you to participate with us in our Facebook Live discussion. Our first one will be tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, and we look forward to visiting with you on that. I'll tell you, I've learned so much more from our Facebook friends over the last year than from any other source, and it challenges me to look at different points of view and to see everybody has a different point of view. And we all bring our own biases to the table. I'm a fossil fuel producer. Most of us are generational. I'm third generation. My son is fourth generation oil and gas producer. Oil and gas fed my family. Oil and gas sent my kids to college. It's been very good to me. I love the oil and gas industry, and I'm unashamed of that. But I do think that we're also citizens of the Oklahoma community and the community of planet Earth in general, and we have a responsibility to do our part to protect the planet. And climate change is a tough issue for me. It really is. I mean, on one hand, I see the benefits of fossil fuel. On the other hand, a significant number of people are concerned about the effects it's having on our climate and on our world long term. And we're going to discuss that openly and as with little bias as we can do. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but it seems to me that most people do research to support the biases they already have, and I'm guilty of that. But we're going to try to be open and look at everybody's information, everybody's research, everybody's opinion matters, and hopefully we can have a dialogue with you, the public, and among ourselves to where we can all be better for it. So we look forward to this adventure that we're going on together, and look forward to hearing your suggestions on our Facebook page, and just thank you for being a part of that. And we look forward to visiting with you tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Thank you.